G'day ladies and gentlemen, thanks very much for joining me on the journey through the ecological dynamics and constraints-led approach for grappling. I am Sam Battlefields. I appreciate you coming along for the ride. Just wanted to say today's video is going to be about something that I have struggled with, but I just knew that doing a CLA practice session was going to be the the thing that fixed me, essentially fixed my issues with this. And one of the things that I fucking love and absolutely love about this approach, right, is I know this is, and I mentioned it before, but this is the first time that I've been excited about takedown week, and I think the reason why I've always hated takedown week is, you know, I'm a big guy. I'm also the guy that Alex used to show people what to do, right? So what that meant is that I was basically the grappling dummy, and I'd be hitting that deck 10, 12 to 15 times per per session, and that's a lot of my weight hitting the deck, a lot of my, and all right, I hear you. Yes, I'm a fat bastard, I know that, but it's a lot of my weight hitting the deck, and it just, and getting up, and everything was always sore, and now that I know about this approach, it just didn't have, it just, I now know that another reason is that it's not representative of what actually goes on when you're standing and grappling. Like, it's actually really annoying that for so long, I've been doing this stuff where we obviously don't start from standing that often, so the confidence just is not always there. We only have 2 takedown weeks per cycle. Don't get me wrong, and I said it this morning, like, each takedown week I felt more confident, but in the last 3 days my confidence has gone like that. Like, it's, and I'll get to the reason why in a second, but I wanted to give an understanding of, I've been kind of thinking about what I was going to do. So here's what's been evolving in the past few weeks, right? Knowing how I should be structuring, how I should be planning, what I should be doing, what I should be looking for, to a degree. I can definitely improve on the, let's say, the rigidness of my planning, the rigidness of my approach. But I've been sort of thinking about it throughout the night. What am I going to do? Getting a general idea. It's kind of like it's starting to come into focus. I go to sleep, wake up. I actually, this is no joke. I wake up early now, and my first thought is, shit, I haven't finished that thought as to what we're going to do today. So what tends to happen is, like, and last night it was 1 o'clock, so it's the last few weeks it's been kind of 4:30, and I've got up and gone, okay, well, I can have a think about it. This time it was 1 o'clock, so I went back to sleep, woke up, jumped on, and I've got the Kit Dale, I bought the Kit Dale task-based games. And one of them, like the first one, is just grips, right? And when I first saw it, I thought, it's a bit of nonsense, really. Like, but there was something I picked up in it that was quite interesting, and actually is really good for, the entrance, the the very start of a stand-up grip fight. And so I sort of thought, okay, well, I'll put that into the mix. Started looking at a couple of others, and I was like, yeah, all right, it doesn't really, it's not, there was a couple of things where I realised that it wasn't representative design. The design wasn't representative of the environment that people are in. Like, so one of his things was getting this underhook, and like they ended up in just such a weird, like unnatural, something that you'd never seen in a grappling thing. So I kind of put that to the side, and but I got into the gym and I realised that so I got in, had my coffee, had my my athletic greens. Get at me, athletic greens. I'm more than happy to promote you to my 6 subscribers. I love you all. Thank you. But I sat down, had all, I had sort of a general gist of what I wanted to do, because I wanted to teach a hip throw. But what I found was when I sat down and went, okay, what are the components of a hip throw that I need? I started going, okay, well, what are the components of just any takedown in general? And obviously, it's hips below, getting your hips below their hips so that you can get under their center of gravity, destabilizing, sort of stuff that we know already. And but when I was like visualizing the games that I was going to do, I then started visualizing them as part of the whole. So like there's no point in creating a game that is standalone outside of the environment that you're going to create, right? So there's 0 point in doing that, because when you put that game into here, they're just going to get crushed. And this is one of the issues I had with that Kit Dale game, was they just got into it like this unnatural, unlikely position where he's sort of sitting out the back, but he's got his arm up like this, and it just didn't look like anything I'd ever seen in grappling ever, right? Because there'd be a myriad of ways where he'd be able to fucking get out of it, and blah blah blah. So what it meant was that as I was designing it, I was kind of looking at the component, yes, but I then started realizing the requirements of it within the entire environment of that section of standing. So engagement while standing, which was really cool. It was cool for me to have that realization. I actually wrote it down and said, helps me break down the requirements easier than when I'm breaking down the components. So essentially when I would teach before and I break down into 3 main things and then 3 backup things, it wouldn't put it in context with the rest of that, of what's going on there. So of what's going on while standing. So yeah, anyway, I'll get on to the game. So initially we did the grips game, which I did stick to Kit Dale's thing. Essentially, you grab a hold of the wrist and then they try and get away from the wrist that way. And part of the emerging stuff that you try and get from it is that, the more that you've got tension on the outside of their wrists, as they move, you can kind of move with them. It's actually pretty cool. And then the second one was an arm drag game, similar to the open guard one we've done in the past. I have a hand on the thing, and the goal is just to get my chest on the back of their shoulder, right, or get to their back. And what emerged from here, so the plan initially was then to go straight into the last game, but I'll I'll explain in a second. But what emerged from this is that there was a lot of, as we were trying to go from the arm drag, in order to stop that, people were getting an arm underneath the armpit and kind of stopping that person going around that way, which made me realise, okay, well, there's a pummeling aspect to it, so we basically did double unders pummeling, alright, and it was just a little bit extra, but yeah. Now, at this point, I wanted to add in something kind of interleaving. I don't know if I'm using that right, but I wanted to add in something that kind of was out of left field that we worked on yesterday, me and Jaden, but I wanted to see if he'd improved, and he had. So essentially it was we started in half guard, but separated other than the legs, and the goal for both of us was to attach to the hips and get our hands around the torso and touching, and you know, that worked for Jaden, which was great. And there was just a whole heap of sort of connections here with, you know, controlling the hips, controlling the head, controlling distance, that sort of thing. So if you're defending, you want to there was just a whole heap of sort of connections there, and then we stood back up, and the game was if we had one one arm around the back, but our head on the front of the shoulder. So our head's here, right? Head's here, and we've got basically a lock up, or we can hold the hand, and from there, the goal was to get the hip that was touching on this side. So if we're holding, if their head, I don't know how to explain this without someone. I've really got to start recording. Everyone left. I wanted to record today, and everyone left before I could. But essentially, the goal is to get the hip. So our hips are touching, and my goal is to get this hip to the other side hip, back or front, right? And so the emergent behavior that ended up happening was, because you could essentially shuck them over and get to the back, and then your hip would be on that opposite hip. Or what was tending to happen with the whizzer is people were stopping going out the back, but stepping back, you were getting them to step back, and then they'd step forward and get in the perfect position for a hip throw. And I can promise you now, I got into a hip throw more times, like into a hip throw position, and actually accidentally threw him because my hip was in the right position more times than I ever have in the past. Like, ever. This approach is just so fucking good. I can begin to tell you. I've been telling you for the last 13 minutes and 20 odd episodes. Anyway, this is Sam Battlefield. Really appreciate you coming along for the journey into ecological dynamics and the constraints-led approach for grappling. Let me know what you think in the comments. Much love.